Hello, thank you for coming here today. This is GLP's 10 out of 10 with lighting designer Ethan Weber. Besides being one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure to meet in this industry, Ethan has got a long career designing for Lou Reed, for Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Green Day, Angels of Airways, My Chemical Romance. And as a lot of people know, he's worked with this little band you may have heard of since 1994 as lighting director for the Rolling Stones. So welcome, Ethan.
Thanks, Brian.
So to get right to it, so what was your very first show as a designer?
I think my first one was a co-design with Bob C. I used to work for C Factor. It was the Lou Reed Mistrial Tour, which was probably, I bet, around 1986. And the first one that I designed solo would have been, I think, Dave Edmunds' Rock and Roll Review from 1987. Dave Edmunds was an old kind of new wave artist who produced a lot of people. So he brought a lot of friends on tour. It was him, Graham Parker, Kim Wilson from the Fabulous Thunderbirds, a few others I can't really remember. Steve Cropper was on guitar, and kind of an all-star cast that nobody had really heard of or came to see, but it was a great tour and amazing lights.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Not really, but yeah.
So what is your most Spinal Tap moment, embarrassing moment on the show that you're willing to tell us about?
There's a few. Luckily, through the years, my memory is clouded over, and I've deleted a bunch of them. But I would say probably the one that sticks out most is U2 360. We had this big spire that was filled with mole bulbs, and Streets Have No Name. There's this huge queue where we pretty much light up the entire stadium and city, and I totally blew it. I can't remember if I was late or early, but you could just feel, all 60,000 people turning and looking at the lighting tent, and me kind of crawling back into my skin. Then we're doing a Stone show at Madison Square Garden, and the band, I don't know if somebody misread the set list or they just changed the set list mid-show, and somebody came up to tell me what the new set list was going to be, and didn't realize that the console had touch screens, and was pointing to the song they were doing next and switched songs right in the middle of the big Madison Square Garden show.
That's always
Can't remember if the lights just went to blue or if they blacked out, but whatever it was pretty impressive. And then I think the last one would be, I was doing a Lou Reed show, I think in Germany, and Lou's wife used to sit next to me, and her guest that night was Wim Wenders, back then kind of a well-known film director. And she had spent the whole, pre-show touting the show, saying how great everything was. And the house lights go out. I bring up the first cue, and maybe 3 lights come on, and they're all flickering. Next thing you know, our dimmer woman runs out and tells me the dimmers are on fire. So halfway through the show, there was an intermission about an hour later, and she was able to get back most of it. But for the first half of the show, I think maybe I had 3 lights on. It was very impressive.
Dimmers on fire is not something you want to hear in the middle of a gig.
No, but yeah. bit embarrassing at the time, but what are you going to do?
What's the best advice anybody gave you, professionally or otherwise?
Can I do this a few different ones as well?
Sure, man.
Okay.
Take I don't want to get too wordy for you.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. So I think the first one, and I know I've said it in the magazine articles before, but the first one was my mother. I used to, on summers, I used to work at a printing company. And one summer I came home after the first day and I said something like, I'll only 60 more days because the job really sucked, but it was cash in the summer. And she said, looked at me, she said, don't wish your life away. I'm like, you know what? And to this day, no matter how shitty the job is, you try to make the most of it. Then Patrick Stansfield told me, look after your money. Don't waste it on, illicit substances and other things. So, which definitely appreciating now that we're down for a bit. Patrick Woodruff said, if you're going to light this, if you want to make the stage red, use 24 lights. Don't do it with 8 lights, make a big statement. And then Willie Williams was less is more. And Mark Brickman was be nice to everybody on your riser because you have no idea who they are or what their relationship might be with band management, etc. I mean, not that you would be nasty to anybody anyway, but we try to be pretty welcoming on the risers.
That's a great answer for some very, well-versed people. So, what was your proudest achievement professionally?
I don't know. It had to be, I've lit some pretty big shows and doing the Rolling Stones for this many years and being asked back a few times. Pretty proud. Lighting 360 was pretty big. I think as far as shows themselves go, probably doing the Stones in Cuba, which was an amazing experience and kind of humbling.
I've seen the film of that. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Very cool. What do you do in your downtime?
Look after my kids, walk the dog. I got 2 8-year-olds and a 10-year-old.
So you don't have much downtime?
No, not really. Yeah, a lot of things on the to-do list that just don't get done.
Cool. Best venue. What's the best venue you've ever worked in?
Again, it's kind of I don't think I can single it down. I think that as far as arenas go, the Bell Center in Montreal is probably the best looking venue. The way they drape it off, the lights they use for the walk-in look. It's just, the spot ops are really good. The hands are really good. Madison Square Garden's always something special. Giant Stadium, just because of the vibe. There's a there's a bunch of arenas in France. I think the Zeniths, and every one of them is built for mid-size shows, and the shows just look great in every one of those I've been in. And then I guess again going back to Cuba, the field in Cuba, seeing however many hundreds of thousands or 1 million people there.
That had to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. If during this whole quarantine time, sort of, what's the one album or artist you couldn't live without? Sort of like running out of the house when it's on fire. What are you grabbing as you go out the door?
With 2 8-year-olds and a 10-year-old, I have no control over the airwaves. But when I do get a chance to listen to something, I Spotify and I'll listen to like Motown, like old Motown probably. So no specific artist, but Temptations, Smokey Robinson, all that stuff.
Awesome.
I think I could last a while on. Yeah, I could last.
That's a great vibe.
Yeah.
Very cool. What advice would you give a teenage version of Ethan Weber?
Career-wise or just life-wise?
Yeah, just whatever. If you could go back and talk to yourself.
I would probably tell myself that those fishing boots that I bought in, I think, 12th grade and wore to school more than once was probably a really bad idea. Not the best fashion statement. Probably about it.
There you go. If you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with one person, either alive or past, who would that be?
That's a pretty rough one. I don't know why, but Groucho Marx keeps popping into my head.
That wouldn't be boring.
No, I'm pretty fond of characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody like him or W.C. Fields could be pretty entertaining.
There you go.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Okay, so final question. So your country's called you up for the Olympics, Winter or Summer Games. What sport are you going to compete in?
It's got to be the one-man luge. Like, I have no desire to go 70, 80 miles down a ice track, but it just, every time I see those guys, it just seems like, I don't know, the silliest.
Gotta be a rush.
Yeah, a rush, but also, I mean, I don't know, who would do something like that? It's crazy, but it's great.
Well, you apparently.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. Well,
Cool.
Thank you very much. I
Thanks.
really appreciate this.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks, Brian.
Be well, say hello to your wife, and enjoy walking the dog and the kids.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Take
give me a
care,
shout.
Ethan.
Yeah, take care.
All right.